Foreign language skills. Intermediate. Module 4. Word is the main element of communication. 4.1.
The world is full of words. They are everywhere we look, everywhere we hear. Words also fill our head. Words have the power to fill us with every emotion we can imagine, and some we can't imagine. The words in a beautiful poem or song can make us cry, hope, and laugh. It all starts with a mama or dada. They are our first words. Soon after that, our parents tell us not to say bad words. Then it's a lifetime of building up our vocabulary. Some of us even want to learn thousands of words in another language. I wonder how many words we can remember. Thousands and thousands. But sometimes you don't need many. If someone says, "I want a few words with you," I get worried.
4.2.
Every year, about 1,000 new words are added to the Oxford English Dictionary. Where do they come from, and how do they make it into our everyday lives? With over 170,000 words currently in use in the English language, it might seem we already have plenty. Yet, as our world changes, new ideas and inventions spring forth, and science progresses, our existing words leave gaps in what we want to express, and we fill those gaps in several ingenious, practical, and occasionally peculiar ways. One way is to absorb a word from another language. English has borrowed so many words over its history that nearly half of its vocabulary comes directly from other languages. Sometimes, this is simply because the thing the word describes was borrowed itself. Rome and France brought legal and religious concepts like altar and jury to medieval England, while trade brought crops and cuisine like Arabic coffee, Italian spaghetti, and Indian curry. But sometimes another language has just the right word for a complex idea or emotion, like naivete, machismo, or schadenfreude. Scientists also use classical languages to name new concepts. Clone, for example, was derived from the ancient Greek word for twig to describe creating a new plant from a piece of the old. And today, the process works both ways, with English lending words like software to languages all over the world. Another popular way to fill a vocabulary gap is by combining existing words that each convey part of the new concept. This can be done by combining two whole words into a compound word, like airport or starfish, or by clipping and blending parts of words together, like spork, brunch, or internet. And unlike borrowings from other languages, these can often be understood the first time you hear them. And sometimes a new word isn't new at all. Obsolete words gain new life by adopting new meanings. Villain originally meant a peasant farmer, but in a twist of aristocratic snobbery, came to mean someone not bound by the knightly code of chivalry, and therefore a bad person. A geek went from being a carnival performer to any strange person, to a specific type of awkward genius. And other times, words come to mean their opposite through irony, metaphor, or misuse. Like when sick or wicked are used to describe something literally amazing. But if words can be formed in all these ways, why do some become mainstream while others fall out of use or never catch on in the first place? Sometimes the answer is simple, as when scientists or companies give an official name to a new discovery or technology. And some countries have language academies to make the decisions. But for the most part, official sources like dictionaries only document current usage. New words don't originate from above, but from ordinary people, spreading words that hit the right combination of useful and catchy. Take the word meme, coined in the 1970s by sociobiologist Richard Dawkins from the ancient Greek for imitation. He used it to describe how ideas and symbols propagate through a culture like genes through a population. With the advent of the internet, the process became directly observable in how jokes and images were popularized at lightning speed. And soon, the word came to refer to a certain kind of image. So meme not only describes how words become part of language, the word is a meme itself. And there's a word for this phenomenon of words that describe themselves: autological. Not all new words are created equal. Some stick around for millennia, some adapt to changing times, and others die off. Some relay information, some interpret it. But the way these words are created and the journey they take to become part of our speech tells us a lot about our world and how we communicate within it.
4.3
We're in the rainforest biome of the Eden Project in Cornwall, and I'm standing next to a Titan arum in full bloom. The Titan arum is the world's largest inflorescence. This is basically a whole bunch of flowers working as one. This one is standing at 1 meter 83 centimeters tall, but we have had them up to 2 meters 90. Scientifically known as Amorphophallus titanum and commonly known as the corpse flower, these huge flowering structures send their overpowering stench of decay throughout the rainforest, where they attract things like carrion beetles and sweat flies, all looking for somewhere to lay their eggs. Titan arums are thermogenic. That means they can raise their own temperature by up to and over 10 degrees centigrade. This heats up the perfume in the flower, and this structure in the middle, the spadix, convects the heat, sending the perfume throughout the forest. This flower has taken 9 years to prepare for this moment. It will only be reproductive for 48 hours. On the first night, the stigma and the ovaries are receptive to pollen. On the second night, it will release its own pollen, but by that stage, the stigma and ovaries will no longer be receptive.
.4
Can you imagine a party where every movement from the slightest gesture to walking across the room and every visual detail from furniture to hemline length were governed by a complex system of rules and procedures? For centuries, such rituals were commonplace for European nobility, and while they've gone out of fashion, we'd recognize the components under a familiar label: ballet. Ballet, from Italian balletto or little dance, originated in Renaissance Italy as a combination of social dance and choreographed display at aristocratic gatherings. In many aspects, it was a way of controlling people in court with acceptable forms of behavior, such as the manner in which people stepped, bowed, or took someone's hand. It also involved rules governing everything from attire to where one could walk or sit in relation to the king. Over time, the study of ballet became a central element of court life, and proper grasp of the etiquette could make or break one's success as a courtier. Many of these court gestures can still be seen in modern ballet techniques. Ballet was brought to France in the 16th century by Catherine de' Medici, the Italian wife of King Henry II. As celebrations became more lavish, so did the dance, with dancing masters teaching elaborate steps to young nobles and story elements providing a unifying theme. The focus shifted from participation to performance, and the form acquired more theatrical trappings, such as professionally designed sets and a slightly raised platform or stage with curtains and wings. But it was in the 17th century court of Louis XIV that ballet was refined into the art we know today. Louis himself had been trained in ballet from childhood. His early role as the sun god Apollo at age 15 cemented the central role ballet would play during his reign. It also earned him the title of Sun King, with his splendid golden costume and choreography that promoted the idea of the king as a divinely ordained ruler. Louis would go on to perform 80 roles in 40 major ballets, either as a majestic lead or sometimes playing minor or comedic parts before emerging in the lead role at the end. He trained daily in ballet as well as fencing and riding, and through his example, dancing became an essential skill for all gentlemen of the era. But Louis XIV's main contribution to ballet was not as a performer. His founding of the Royal Academy of Dance in 1661 shifted control of ballet from local guilds to the royal court. As director, he appointed his personal ballet master and frequent performance partner, Pierre Beauchamp, who codified the 5 main positions of the body still used today. Through his collaborations with Jean-Baptiste Illouis, the director of the Royal Music Academy, and famed playwright Molière, Beauchamp helped establish ballet as a grand spectacle. And in 1669, a separate ballet academy was founded. The Paris Opera Ballet survives today as the oldest ballet company in the world. Ballet moved away from the royal court to the theater and survived the democratic revolutions and reforms that followed over the next century. With the advent of the Romantic movement, fantasy and folklore themes became common motifs. And though the influence of ballet in France would decline, other countries such as Russia would play a major role in its further development. Fortunately, today most of us don't have to learn a complicated set of steps just to socialize at a wedding. Instead, we can go to the theater to see professionals who spend their lives training rigorously to perform feats that would have been unimaginable in Louis XIV's day.
.5
So a sandwich, food between 2 slices of bread. It's the most common lunchtime food in England. Fun fact though, I don't really like bread. It's not that I don't like it, I just don't see the point in it. I feel like sandwiches, the bread dilutes the flavour of the filling. So yeah, just give me the filling. Yeah. So sandwiches actually get their name from a man called John Montagu, who was the 4th Earl of Sandwich. So he was an 18th century aristocrat, and he used to like to eat his meals at the game table. So he liked to play games like cards, and he didn't want to get all the pieces and cards dirty with his greasy fingers. So he used to ask for beef between 2 slices of bread. And it caught on with his friends. They used to say, you know, I'll have what Sandwich is having. I'll have a Duke of Sandwich. And in the end, it got shortened down to just sandwich, and it's the food that we know and love today. Or most of us know and love. I just know it, don't love it. Yeah, so there is actually a place in the UK called Sandwich, which sounds like a really bizarre name, but actually, that's where the food originates.
4.6
Located in central London is a public park that remains hidden to even the locals. The medieval-style church of St Dunstan in the east was built in around 1100 and has had a long 900-year-old history. In 1666, it was rebuilt after being damaged in the Great Fire of London. Then, during World War II, a direct hit during the London Blitz destroyed a majority of the structure, leaving behind only the north and south walls and steeple. Instead of rebuilding once again, the City of London decided to turn the remains of St Dunstan in the east into the public garden, which is accessible today, if you know where to look. Tucked away from the main road, the garden is situated between the Tower of London and London Bridge. The green ivy-covered walls, trees and flowers offer an enchanting escape from the city and serve as a reminder of London's history.
4.7
Did you know coffee has been around for over 11 centuries and is currently the most widely consumed beverage in the world after water? More than 400 billion cups are drunk every year around the world. That's 15,000 every second. That a simple beverage could be so loved is a wonder. Okay, where did it all start? It all started with a curious goat. At least that's what the legends say. In the 9th century, an Ethiopian goat herder drank a concoction made from the coffee beans after seeing his goats eating them and getting energetic. As the preparation method of coffee improved, its popularity spread through coffee houses around the world and then into homes to become a very important part of people's lives. Now here are 3 main reasons why people love to drink coffee so much. 1. Coffee is 100% natural. Coffee comes from a tree that grows in what is called the coffee belt between the tropics of Cancer and Capricorn. Ethiopia and Cote d'Ivoire are the biggest coffee producers in Africa. All it takes to prepare coffee is pick the beans, dry them, roast them, grind them, and extract the coffee with hot pressurized water. But for a good cup of coffee, it requires a lot of knowledge and skills to select the best beans, roast them gently, and make sure all along the process, the great flavors and aromas are carefully captured to be restituted later in your cup. That's what we do best at Nescafe, selecting exclusively high-quality coffee from Africa, blending the right varieties to develop the best taste, roasting them to perfection, and keeping their fresh and rich aroma without adding any single thing. No additives, no preservatives, no flavoring, no chemicals. So you're really drinking coffee straight from the tree, just like freshly squeezed orange juice, 100% natural. 2. Coffee is good for you. It awakens your senses and keeps your body and mind alert in a healthy way. You can literally feel it rush through your body and revitalize every inch of it. That comes from a natural mild stimulant called caffeine that you commonly find in many ingredients you drink or eat. 1 espresso shot contains 30 milligrams of caffeine. A cup of black tea or a bottle of cola, around 40 milligrams. 100 grams of dark chocolate, 60 milligrams. Coffee is also one of the highest sources of antioxidants. Antioxidants are important compounds that protect our body from diseases. They act as an army to protect us from the toxins coming from what we breathe and eat and help stave off cancer, heart disease, diabetes, and stroke. That's maybe why we say a cup a day may keep the doctor away. 3. Coffee tastes amazingly good. Whether it's made of the finest mild and aromatic Arabica or more bitter Robusta, prepared with sugar, milk, cream, spices, there's certainly a cup of coffee that you will love. The Italians drink their espresso with sugar. The Mexicans with cinnamon. The Belgians with chocolate. Ethiopians with a pinch of salt. The Senegalese add black pepper and cloves in their cafe tuba. The Nigerians add some lemon. And from Nescafe Classic and Nescafe 3-in-1 to Nescafe's African flavors of ginger and lemon, ginger and honey, and ginger and spices, Nescafe offers so many different combinations of coffee to easily experiment with and enjoy. And remember, 1 spoon of Nescafe Classic is enough for a perfect cup of coffee. So, how would you like your Nescafe today?